Minimalism is a Western-made mentality. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Ariana. My family and I moved here to Central Asia just 3 months ago. I was definitely excited about the idea of moving overseas and bringing very few items with us. And in some ways, I am really enjoying that. But there are many ways that my mentality of being minimal has definitely changed since moving here. So that's what I want to share with you in this video. For someone who likes to be really minimal in the amount of things that I have and just enjoy decluttering and keeping my spaces really clean and having very few amount of items, my mentality is kind of shifting since we've been here. I'm just going to share with you a few things that I've come to recognize regarding minimalism and just maybe give you some fresh perspective on it from a different cultural point of view. So the first thing that I've really come to recognize since moving here is just this sense of security that we have in the States, especially in regards to buying things. So in America, we have, really big box stores like your Walmart or even your online stores like Amazon, and we have tons of thrift stores. So this just allows for the ease of buying things, and especially buying things all in one location. And a lot of these things can be purchased pretty inexpensively. And what I mean by a sense of security is that in the States, we kind of tend to let go of things a lot easier because we just have this sense of security that we can just go out and buy them again when we need something. I've heard a lot of minimalist people or people that talk about decluttering on YouTube that have this general rule of if you've had it for more than 6 months or if you've had it for more than a year and haven't used that item, then you would typically declutter it from your house. And this was probably something that I generally followed. A lot of the time I did like this principle. However, living here overseas, we just have less access to things. And when we are looking for something, you're not going to find them all in one place like you would at a Walmart or Amazon. The closest thing that we have to something like a Walmart would be your local bazaar here, where you find most things in one location. You can find produce, you can find home goods, you can find hardware type things. However, they tend to be a lot more crowded and disorganized, and I would say even chaotic at times. So it's not as smooth of an experience as you would find at a Walmart. So because of this, I find myself holding on to things a lot more than I used to, just because I find that I may need it at some point and it's not as easy to go out and find something when you need it. So this kind of brings me to my next overall theme of wastefulness. So some of the things that I find myself holding on to are things like jars, containers, reusable bags like Ziploc bags. I have yet to be able to find Ziplocs here. I know that some people have said that they found them, but I have yet to find them. You can find something similar to a Ziploc bag at a bazaar, but they're actually really thin and rip easy, so you can't reuse them quite as easily. So that's why we tend to put things in jars more or reuse them for things like canning. But being less wasteful was something that I really tried to work on when we were living in the States. I found myself throwing away food often, and not only are you wasting food, but you're wasting money if you had spent the money to purchase those items and then you're throwing them away. So moving here, that has become even more important to me. We hear often that we're supposed to eat seasonally, and although I would love to do that when I'm in the States, it's hard to pass up things like avocados or berries when you see them at the store because they're accessible to you. So those are things that I would find myself purchasing all year round when living in the States. However, living here, you are forced to eat seasonally because that's just a reality of what you can find. But because of the limited access to finding different produce throughout the year, it's really taught me to find ways of preserving foods that I have not learned in the States. I had never picked up canning in the States because it was just something that I didn't feel like I needed to do. Here, I have learned to can different items because I know that I can't get things like tomatoes throughout the rest of the year or certain types of fruits and vegetables. So it becomes more important to can, which is where being less wasteful with things like reusable jars and containers for freezing has become really important. So whereas before these things have been more important for me to feel like I can declutter them if I haven't been using them, I find that I'm wanting to hold on to things a little bit more because, yeah, like I said, it's just not quite as easy to find things, and you don't have access to things all year round quite like you do in the States. Okay, so the next sort of overall theme is in regards to productivity. I feel like minimalism is really helpful for being productive in the sense that when your spaces are free of clutter and you have less things to manage, it becomes easier to be productive. I know that when I have a lot of clutter going on, it's really hard for me to feel organized and to get myself ready to be productive, I guess, because there's all these different things that my mind goes to. In the States, our mentality really is all around productivity. How can we be more productive? How can we be more efficient with our time? Simplifying life helps in our productivity in a way that our time is used more wisely, I would say. So I don't know if this one really goes in line with minimalism or not, but things just take a lot longer here. Life is just less efficient overall. One way that we are a little bit more minimalistic here is that we do not own a car, whereas in the States, most people own at least one car. Most people have 2 cars, but we have yet to purchase a vehicle here. But that definitely makes things take a lot longer. You definitely see people walking a lot more here. We do live in a city, so there are more stores that are like on the streets and available within walking distance to us. But we walk to get a lot of our produce and a lot of our groceries. And because of that, it requires that we shop a lot more frequently than we do in the States. I would get my groceries once a week when we lived in America, but here I have to go probably like every 2 to 3 days, depending on what I need. We really can only get what we can carry at a time when you're walking. I've also noticed that produce just doesn't last quite as long. I don't know if it has to do with the farming methods in America compared to here, or just that when you get your produce at a grocery store in America, it's put in some sort of refrigeration, or you have those misters in Walmart that keep the produce fresh. Here, I'm just purchasing my produce on the street, so it can be sitting out in the sun all day, or the weather, whatever the weather is for that day. So it just tends to not last quite as long. You don't realize how much a car helps until you don't have one. We do have an ease of getting taxis here that are pretty inexpensive, so we use taxis a lot, and this definitely helps, but it's not quite as convenient as having your own car. Really, we can only do one trip at a time, whereas if you had a car, you can kind of go to one store and then go to another store. And it's just not as easy to do that here. So this kind of just ties into that ease and security of being able to go out and get things when you need them. That's just really simple in America. I think that security makes us feel like it's okay to easily get rid of something, because if we need it again, we can just go out and purchase it. I don't have that same feeling here. I don't feel like it's super easy to just go get a new, pair of clothes for my kids when they need it, or go get a pack of chicken for dinner. So I tend to feel like I want to hold on to things more and be a little bit less wasteful with the things that I have, because I don't know when I'm going to be able to go get those things again. Okay, so now onto the topic of clothing. I'm going to kind of put this in its own theme. I was really excited about bringing a minimal amount of clothing with us. I really like the idea of a capsule wardrobe. I've kind of done that when we were living in America, and I even really like the idea of having a 10-item capsule wardrobe, but I'm just not sure how realistic that is here. One, it's just a lot dirtier, and I don't mean dirty in a bad sense, but there's a lot more dust here, that the roads are dustier. You bring a lot of dust into your home. When you go walking out on the streets, there's a lot of dust that gets on your clothes, so you end up wearing a lot more because they get dirty a lot quicker. So I did kind of come with a capsule wardrobe because we were so limited in the amount of items that we were able to take with us, but I found that to be really restrictive at times. I feel like sometimes I go and I'm like, oh, I just wore that item, or it'd be nice to have a little bit more variety in my outfits. It also feels a little bit restrictive because we don't have a dryer here. So whenever we wash clothing items, we have to hang them out to dry, and it definitely takes a little bit longer for clothes to dry hanging them outside as opposed to putting them in your dryer. So I end up running out of items a lot faster because I'm waiting for them to dry. But again, just the idea of security. I think we feel like we can live with less sometimes in the States because we have the ease of knowing we can go out and get more. I really enjoyed rotating my closet a lot in the States. I would go to thrift stores and purchase new items and then donate the items that I wasn't wearing anymore. And I had a lot of fun doing that, and I think it's great. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but that is just not something that is quite as easy to do here. You can definitely find a lot of clothing, but again, if you go to the bazaars for some of the cheaper clothing, you're sifting through a ton of clothes that aren't the greatest quality. They are probably coming from China, most of them, although a lot of our clothes in the States are as well. But you can find better quality items like you would in the States, but you're gonna pay for you know, those higher end, better branded clothes. And I'm just used to paying thrift store prices, even in America. You just don't have quite the ease of buying new items of clothing that you do living in the States. And this ease of buying things in America, I don't say these things to make anybody feel bad about that or to make you feel bad about the wealth that we do have in America and the privilege that we have. But I think it's really important to recognize it as a privilege and to remember that a lot of people don't live like that around the world. That's just not the reality of the rest of the world. And I think living in America, we can become so accustomed to the way that our culture lives and is because we never get outside of it. You know, you can travel all within the United States and never go to another place that feels more like a third world country where you just don't have the accessibility that we have or the wealth that we have. I think the idea of being minimal is something that many people around the world have never even thought of. It's not something that is even a reality to people outside of these more first world countries. Many people can't even afford cars or can't even afford the idea of getting rid of something just because it's not trendy anymore. I know that that's something that I have done. I've, you know, donated things again because they've gone out of trend, and not just even in clothes. It could be in house decor and things like that. That is just not a reality that a lot of people live by around the world. Again, this is not to make people feel bad about having the ability to get nice things or have things to make your house look nice. It's just a reminder that it is a privilege and just to be grateful for the things that we have and are able to get. Living here has definitely helped me to simplify life in many ways that I haven't before, and also just to recognize and appreciate what a gift our belongings really are. Now, you're not gonna see me like start hoarding things or holding on to everything that I get and just like saving everything, but I'm definitely a lot more intentional with the things that I have. And isn't that really at the heart of minimalism, to be more intentional with the items that we choose to hold on to? It's not about the number of items that we have or how much we buy or don't buy or hold on to or don't hold on to, but it's about intentionality. So I think living here has made me more intentional in many ways. So I really hope this video just helps you to remember the privilege that it is to have the belongings that you do and to own the things that we do. Things have definitely changed drastically here over the years. I talked to my mother-in-law who lived here 30 years ago and just had very little access to things, even just purchasing toilet paper. So things have definitely come a long way. You'll see a lot more westernized things like grocery stores starting to pop up, even shopping malls. And there are even some online platforms that are starting to be developed that are similar to like your Amazon. If there's something that you need, you can definitely find most things here. I'm not living in like a grass hut or something like that, but I think it's really important to remember that there are people around the world that are living even less than I'm living here. So that reminder really makes me thankful and grateful for the things that I have. And I think that's really one of the most important things about being minimal is being intentional with our belongings and then just remembering that they are a gift. They are a good gift from God and makes me want to praise Him, and it makes me want to be more generous and to bless others when I can. So thank you guys so much for watching. Thanks for joining us on our journey as we've been living here the last couple of months. It's been really fun to show you guys just little bits of our life here and different aspects of the culture. If you haven't subscribed, please do so for more adventures and learning more about the Kyrgyz culture here. And if you have any questions, please feel free to leave those in the comments below and I can answer those for you. And I'll catch you guys on the next one.